what made you want to get into real estate? And then two, how was it jumping in and not having that structure anymore where it was ultimately up to you to make, how your day runs?
You mentioned early on that you didn't see the correlation between the two. And I completely see the correlation between the two. Okay. So I was in the people business for a long time.
Yeah.
I know people.
That's true.
Yeah. This is the people business.
This is the people.
I know people. So, you know what? I know people. I've been working with people. I used to say dealing with people, and some random coach was like, you don't deal with people anymore. You work with people. I'm like, oh.
Do you? Is that true? Do you work with people or do you deal with people? All right. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Blueprint Podcast. I have the one and only Denise Ferrari. It's about time we get you on the show. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. What an intro.
I know.
One and only.
Absolutely. I was telling Denise behind the scenes that we had to slowly build up to this because there's going to be some fireworks. It's going to be spicy. I can't wait.
There's no other way.
Well, no. For those of you that don't know Denise, she is an absolute beast when it comes to real estate, and that's how we first met going back a couple years ago. Before you had even done a deal, I think we sat down and I think I cold called you over Instagram.
What a douchebag. Cold called.
I love it. But it worked out. I want to give a quick intro on who you are, and then I want to kind of get into your background because a lot of people don't know what you did prior to real estate, and that's where some of my favorite stories of you land. So
there you go.
Quick intro. Who are you?
Cool. My name is Denise Ferrari. I'm 41 years old. I've been married for 10 years. I've got 2 daughters that are just absolute firecrackers. They are 7 and 9. I'm from Southern California. LA County area, because everyone's like northern or southern. So anyway, Southern California girl.
Yep.
I don't really claim to be from California anymore. I just tell everyone I'm from Idaho. I was in law enforcement for 16 years. Been in real estate for the last almost 3. How has that gone by so quick?
Yeah, geez.
I'm towards the end of doing 75 hard. I'm on day 53 today.
Was this your first time doing it?
First time, yeah.
How's it been so far?
It's been good.
Okay.
It's been real good.
I see the posts and everything. I got to give it a try one of these times, but it doesn't sound fun for sure.
It's got its moments.
For sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know, or I would assume a lot of people don't know about your police involvement prior to becoming a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Those are 2 industries that you don't see a lot of, either going from police to real estate or doing both. I think I know of like one other couple that's a real estate agent and a police officer.
Yeah.
But they're on 2 completely different sides of the spectrum in my view. So what initially kind of got you into law enforcement back in California, and kind of just give us a run through of like what you did when you were down there?
So I pretty much knew from a very young age I wanted to be in some sort of law enforcement. I grew up in the hood, so to speak. I grew up in a little town called Hawthorne, which is pretty much borders Inglewood. I went to high school in Inglewood, California. Just the hood. And so I was just like, when I grew up, I like hated bad guys. I hated gangsters. I hated Are we cussing on this?
Yeah,
no?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let it rip.
Yeah. I'm not a speaker sometimes any other way. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm a professional.
No.
But no, I just was like, I don't want to, I hated the shit these people did, and I saw it. I was around it all the time. So I just always was like, I'm gonna go to the FBI. I'm gonna do this, and then until I got old enough to realize, I definitely don't want to be a Fed.
Yeah.
So I just kind of fell into law enforcement. It was always just something that called me. And it was always like, oh, everyone wants to help and give back and all that. And those are things that people really want to do, but that's really no one really truly wants help, right, in law enforcement once you're in it. So I just loved the adrenaline rush of law enforcement. I'm like, I want to go chase bad guys. I want to fight people. I want to do all this it was just weird because I'd never gotten in a fight in my whole life. So I don't even know where that came from. But anyway, just kind of where I grew up and didn't want to be a product of my environment. I always wanted to just thrive and be different. And so got into law enforcement right when I was 21. Graduated college, went to the police academy, got hired right away. And pretty much that was it. What?
So that interests me just because from understanding a little bit about your family, not everybody, went the law enforcement route. From someone looking in and that grew up in an environment like that, a lot of people know Inglewood, and that's not, the greatest part of California, a lot of gangs and stuff like that. But a lot of people fall victim to that environment. That's what they grow up seeing, and that's the cool thing to do. What what kind of steered you the other path where instead of joining and you know, doing that stuff that you were accustomed to probably all the time, it was like, sound like from a very young age, you were just like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be the opposite. Was it more family, or was it just something that you were maybe just born with?
Yeah, no, I will say it's 100% family.
Okay.
We'll get a little personal for a minute. I had a couple events in my life that happened that were pretty they're pretty traumatic, and they're events like I'll never forget. And it was something that had happened internally with my family. You know, everyone's got an uncle or someone that's just absolute, like, you know, just trash and drama or whatever. And there was like a particular incident where we had a family member who pretty much like attacked my dad.
Wow.
And, you know, a lot of stuff happened, but I just will never forget that moment because I was so angry.
Yeah.
Like, I was a little girl and seeing, like, that whole situation unfold. And I remember thinking to myself, like, he's not right. Something's not right with him. And, like, I wanted to, like, get after it.
Yeah.
And I remembered that fire. And, you know, that's just anger in a kid in a family situation, right? But I never forgot that.
I was going to say, it sounds like it kind of stuck with you
And
throughout.
then it happened again.
Okay.
But the older I got, I just kind of started to handle it differently. And then I did become a cop, and then it happened again. And I actually got to eventually, like, be a part of putting this guy away, who was, you know, part of our family, unfortunately. And I don't think I've ever really shared that with anyone. But I was so angry for so long about that type of behavior within my circle that it just, like, fired me up. And I was just like, I'm not dealing with this crap.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how, like, it started. And, you know, I mean, I've worked a variety of different, like, things within law enforcement. For a short time, I was a canine handler. I wasn't very long-lived. I ended up meeting my husband and started having babies. And, you know, can't be running a dog biting people. So, anyway, but that is, like, you know, you watch your dog go, like, do its thing and chase a bad human and bite him, like, this is amazing. So anyway, I wish I could have did it a lot longer because that was pretty cool.
It sounded like a fun time. Coming back to one of the things you said though, that aggression and holding that aggression with you for that long, did it take a toll?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
would
productive?
say.
I mean, it sounded like you channeled it in a constructive way.
Yeah, I would like to think I did, right? Because I was always a very fair cop and but I also went through a phase, and I mean, we could talk about this because it'll lead into other questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're 21 years old, you're very immature.
Yeah.
And when you're 21 years old and you come up in a certain environment or you have certain, like, things that, like, for instance, that incident, there was others, right?
Yeah.
That feel that, and then you, like, deal with it. It's like, are you going to handle this within the law, be mature about it, and do your job, like, and not let personal emotions, you know, get in the way. So I think I handled it very well for a good portion of my career. I was always a hothead, though. Like, I just popped off on people. Like, I just was such a zero tolerance. I'm like, what'd you say? Like, you know, and it was not the right way to be. And I still am like that very much so now. I'm very, very, I love aging now at this point because every year I am getting better.
Yeah.
I channel those emotions differently, but, you know, it is part of who I am. That part, I just have always been like that. But, you know, I just think a lot of cops do a lot of dumb shit and do a lot of bad things because they don't channel certain things the right way. And I think a lot of times law enforcement officers maybe didn't even have the growing up I did. Maybe they had, like, a perfect life.
Yeah.
Right? Had a lot of money. Their family was wealthy. They don't know how to talk to people on the street because they didn't grow up that way, right?
Yeah.
And then those are the ones that end up going out there sometimes, and they're just a little over cocky or just a little too much, and they treat people like shit. You know.
Is there, like, inside of a police academy, the one that you were in, like, is there support systems for that kind of thing to, like, address, like, basic, you know, I don't want to call them people skills because it's not, but, like, if you're having an officer that's having an occasion again and again and getting into, you know, some type of altercation outside in the police work, is there, like, places where people can go and say, like, try to, like, not counsel them, but, like, you know, kind of address what's going on and address those different personality types? Because I have to imagine that you have some police, you know, that are like you that go from 0 to 100 really, really quick. That there's other ones that are very, maybe even timid and shy. Yeah. And so
you're talking about two different spectrums. Yeah, I mean, like, so I guess it's not something really an academy thing, right? You just kind of want to rely on the process. Like, you know, some events have occurred recently where, like, the process has been cut back because people are trying to make numbers. So, like, you know, like what happened in Memphis, I didn't even look look into it. I'm so checked out.
Yeah.
So I know very little of the details of that. But what I did hear in headlines was, they stopped doing certain things in the background, or they made the qualifications less. They lowered their standards. So you have to rely on the process. And when I went through, it took me a while to get hired. Funny story, I had really bad credit.
Huh.
And
Okay.
I, in those years, could not get hired because of my credit.
Wow.
Which was so annoying because there was a reason I had bad credit.
Yeah.
I was supporting myself through college, charging up this and that, and I had made a lot of bad financial decisions. I was a kid. But anyway, as time goes on through these processes, you go through a psychological background, a lot of interviews. Can you even have a conversation? Can you be in an interview, present yourself accordingly and confidently and articulate and all those things? And honestly, I've been a part of a lot of boards where some people come in and you're just
pass?
well, how did you even get through life speaking that way? You're not looking at me in my eye. There's no confidence about you. Now we're going to go put you out here. So people like that don't make the process, right?
Right.
And hopefully you can catch it pretty early on.
Yep.
And through the process. And after an interview, physical agility type stuff, making sure you're fit. And then the psychological process. And then background check. They start talking to people, your neighbors, coworkers, stuff like that. Ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, whatever it is.
Yep.
And then you go through... you take a lie detector test, and so there's just a variety of things that, if red flags come up,
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah.
However,
So many of them, and you can't get through.
well, there's a lot of people out there that are really good at lying. There's a lot of good people out there that are really good at putting on a front, and that's not who they are. So,
Yeah.
They try to do the best they can with the process. And then I think over time, people can change,
Yeah.
A lot of things can happen in people's life,
I believe that.
So a lot of guys get divorced. A lot of guys do dumb shit
Yeah.
when they're young, and and things can change over time. I don't know, it's just a variety of things, but I think they try to do the best they can with that.
I'm sure.
But to answer the actual question, that so once they're in law enforcement, if you do start to see this sort of a pattern of bad behavior or too much aggression or not enough aggression, there's a training phase. And during that training phase, if you have a good training officer and staff that's really paying attention to these things, they're going to address hey, you need to step it up. You're being really timid. These gangsters are
Gonna walk all over you.
right?
Yeah.
Or hey, you're a little too much. We got to bring it down a little bit. I hold the reins back.
Yeah.
So there is a process of that. There's a list of things that you should be doing, could improve on. They try to, and obviously if there's things that are issues, but you're a good person and you're solid at all these things, then there's extra things they try to work on to get you through it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, I don't want to get too political. You go down the rabbit hole as far as you want to go. But what has been kind of your mindset, and maybe you've been asked this from other people, but throughout the last several years, I'd say from 2020 till now, a lot of headline articles talking about police brutality, riots erupting, all sorts of bad stuff.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you to have lived that life as a police officer, and then seeing some of the stuff, some of the comments that people say about the police and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Has that had any impact on you?
Yeah, it's super frustrating. My husband's still in law enforcement, even though I'm not. I always will be. That's just my life. It was for so long. And then, my entire family is still involved in law enforcement, whether it's my sister-in-laws, my brother-in-laws, all of my friends, and my husband, the most important one.
Yeah.
And so it, still gets me all fired up because the things people say, it's very generalized. It's all cops are this or all this. And that part's frustrating because I would say 98% of cops out there truly, truly go out there selflessly every day, do the damn thing for you, for other people, don't worry about themselves, put themselves in harm's way, will do anything to do what they're supposed to do, and are truly good people.
Yeah.
And it's that 1 or 2% of idiots that sneak through the cracks that do dumb shit.
Yeah.
And we can say that about any industry.
For sure.
There's realtors like that. I've dealt with them already in the last 2 years. There's just weird people in every industry that do weird things. There's headlines of doctors doing shady things. Every industry has bad apples. And people are always going to say, and categorize it. So it's really frustrating, especially because the way I lived my life as a cop, I truly, truly cared about people, whether they wanted my help or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I would agree. I think, regardless of what field it's in, bad people will do bad things.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, police is going to be kind of on the forefront of that because they are, there to protect and serve.
Absolutely.
And so when when it looks or appears that that isn't happening and they're doing the opposite, people seem to, overgeneralize, like you said. They'll freak out about it. But I think a lot of times too, the social media is some of the problem where you don't get the full story, right? You get one angle, but you don't get the other angle.
Yeah, the angles are huge. Let me tell you about angles. I did police work with cameras for a long time, and it has saved me more than it's hurt me. But the times it hurt me, it's my mouth, and so it is what it is. But cameras are great. I was always resistant of it because it's just like you just feel like, oh my God, I'm being watched. But you know what? They have really helped people more than they've hurt them, in my opinion.
I would probably agree with that as well. So we started having kids, got out of the police. When you moved to Idaho, what was like, a lot of people moved from California over to Idaho. What was like the final straw, or is it just like a slow kind of thought that was building for the last couple of years of like, we need to get out of this place? But I'm just always curious into like what the reason was. Was it fast? Was it slow?
No, it was actually really abrupt.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely not planned.
Not planned.
No, I had about 8 years left till I could retire. There was absolutely no reason to retire. Like, law enforcement has some of the best pensions there is.
Yeah.
I was, in a place, I was at a great police department at the time, and I was, very successful in what I was doing, and I had every intention of, promoting and doing this and doing that, and there was zero, like, honestly, I didn't see it coming. I really didn't. I was already kind of like, there's got to be another way to make money. I used to say that all the time. And, I've always been an entrepreneur. My husband and I owned a CrossFit gym back home for about 13 years. And I had a T-shirt business. And I just always had my hands in other things because, why not side hustle, right? However, I just knew at some point, like, I gotta figure out a way out of law enforcement. I started to kind of not see myself get to retirement. I really did. I was like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna make it another 8 years. But I definitely...
Just all the stuff you were dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Just the crap. Just what was happening in California. Just like criminals getting out. Just like no one doing time anymore. I used to work sex crimes where I would deal with kids who were like getting raped, molested, and, adults. Same thing. And when those criminals aren't doing time, I'm like, there's a freaking problem here.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, I get it, the robberies and burglaries. Not that I'm trying to decriminalize anything or say one crime is less important than the other.
Right.
But when you're dealing with, like, sex crimes, I'm just, like, really hot on it. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this kid just, like, was mutilated by this pedophile, and they're not doing time, and I'm investigating those crimes, and I'm dealing with all that, and now, like, nothing happens. Like, I was already kind of getting checked out. So then, anyway, long story, because I can go on forever. We came out here to visit our friends, and I was like, I can't live out here. It's too slow. Like severe ADD.
What year was that?
This was in 2020. This was
2020.
like riots were crazy. This was like George Floyd. Like, this was during those times. And between like my sister-in-laws, my brother-in-laws, all of us were all working like 12 on, 12 off. Like, our poor kids were at my mother-in-law's house all the time. Like, we were working a lot, and it was a lot. And there's some days where I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like, it's just crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
The adrenaline rush you get just from being a part of that. But I was like, my poor kids, like, we really got to figure something else out. And then you don't, right? And just life, you just keep trucking away. And then anyway, my sister-in-law planned a road trip, Yellowstone, the whole deal.
Okay.
We caught up with them, and we stayed in Star with our friends for only 2 people we knew in Idaho. We stayed with them for like a week, and I was like, yeah, I can't live here. It's nice, but nah.
Too
and
slow.
then right around like day 3, I was like, okay, people are holding doors open for me, talking to me. Like,
Way more friendly.
I'm like, you know what? And it was just something about the way I felt. And I told my husband, like, we're done. Like, we're going home. I'm quitting. Selling the house. Let's go. And he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you
Hold up,
sure?
yeah.
And I was like, no, like, it's now or never. Because if I talk myself out of this, like, we're never going to leave. I'm going to stay. I'm going to try to promote. I'm going to do all these things. And we're never going to leave. I'm telling you right now. So we went back home, and I did what I said I was going to do.
When it comes to decision making, that's obviously a big decision. Do you find yourself, as soon as you're aware of like what needs to be done, that you'll execute quickly, or is that
Yep.
I mean, that's a common trait with a lot of highly motivated, successful entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it, is that they make decisions very quickly, and they very rarely will alter from that path.
True. Good, bad, or ugly, right?
Right.
Okay, I've made a lot of bad decisions. My husband and I have both made some entrepreneurial decisions that probably weren't maybe the best, or they were okay. I mean, we've lost a lot of money in things we've done, but it's always like, we're going to do this, we're going to do it now.
Yeah. love
and
that.
let's just go, like, whatever. His philosophy, and honestly, I owe it to him. Like, he is the true entrepreneur. He, like,
Shout
put
out to
this
Kyle.
seed in me. Yeah, shout out to Kyle. He would always say this to me. He kills me. He's like, what's it matter? He's like, oh, they give money away at work every 2 weeks. Like, what do you mean they give money away every 2 weeks? You just got to show up. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, just make more money. Like, okay, who cares? Because I'm like, we just lost, and who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do it again because I have another idea. Like, that's him all the time, and I used to get so stressed out. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Anyway, and now, like, I am a full-on entrepreneur. I'm like, let's do it, let's try it, let's go, you know. And he just supports me, and it just that's how it goes.
I think it's, you know, especially in a relationship or a marriage, to have that support system, right? To bounce ideas off each other, for an accountability partner, to, you know, have somebody that is, you know, if someone's more timid and you know it's still a good idea, but to have that, you know, the tenacity to take that next jump, I think that's huge and crucial.
Oh, totally huge.
That's awesome.
You know, I've been married for 10 years, and I've never been married before, but I'll tell you, like, having the right partner is everything in life.
Yep.
With every aspect of your life, with parenting, with your business, with your growth, your fitness. I mean, it goes down to just your daily mental, like, health, your habits. Like, if you have a shitty partner, like, you're done.
Yep. Yeah.
You're
and Kyle's
not.
a good dude, so
Yep.
yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, talk to me. So you're jumping into real estate now. We go from, you know, it's obviously not a 9 to 5, but it's a structured organization. You know, you're not creating your own schedule. You're not doing your own thing. You know, you're tasked, you know, to a certain degree in you know, in police work. And then you switch over, you come to Idaho, and you jump into real estate. First question is, why jump in? Like, what made you want to get into real estate? And then two, how was it jumping in and not having that structure anymore, where it was ultimately up to you to make, you know, how your day runs?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because you mentioned early on that you didn't see the correlation between the two. And I completely see the correlation between the two. Okay? So I was in the people business for a long time.
Yeah.
I know people.
That's true. Yeah.
This is the people business.
This is the people.
I know people. So it's the same thing, in my opinion, but I had to view it that way. And so it's just like, you know what? I know people. I've been working with people. I used to say dealing with people, and some random coach was like, you don't deal with people anymore, you work with people. I'm like, oh.
Is that true? Do you work with people or do you deal with people?
I'd both.
Yeah, I was gonna say, on some certain situations you deal with them.
There's a lot of bullshit in real estate. You're dealing with people, let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so, you know, to me it was a smooth transition, because law enforcement made me very confident. Law enforcement made me like, yes, no. A lot of people have a hard time saying no. A lot of women have a hard time saying no. A lot of women have a hard time being stern, especially in a male-dominated industry, and blah, blah, blah. I can go on about that. I'm not playing it. Like, I got into this business. I was so confident from the get-go, which was hard because I had moments where I wasn't. I didn't know anything really about real estate other than my personal transactions.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, it's all good. I'm just going to go head first. I'm going to learn all I can. I'm going to try to meet people and, you know, just learn everything I can. And I'm just going to show up every day confident. Like, I already sold a bunch of houses, because if you show up that way, then it will work and it will happen.
Love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And that was to your point, that was something that I would 100% contribute a ton of your success to, just watching you from, you know, when we first met, not having done any, to just blowing up in 2021, 2020, and then obviously last year as well, and working with you, is that you had supreme confidence from the day I met you. And if I hadn't known that, you know, you were not a new agent, I wouldn't have suspected anything less. And I think that is so crucial to have, is that utmost confidence in yourself, because if you don't, then nobody else will.
Yep.
Right? There's not going to be anybody else that's giving you a pep talk every single day.
Nope.
And I think a lot of people going into a new industry like real estate, and maybe even more with, you know, women talking in a male dominant, you know, kind of structure, that can be difficult.
Yep.
Right? So I would 100% agree. What was there anything, you know, there's always not just one thing, but like when you started to get going into real estate, besides the confidence part, like what is it that you kind of did on a day-to-day basis? How'd you structure your days to like start getting business? A lot of people have an issue of like, what do I do now? Like what, there's no like how-to manual.
I still have days like that. You know, if you're not constantly thinking of how you're going to evolve, if you're not having those fears, or if you're not thinking like, what can I do better, then you're not even like, you're not in any uncomfortable place. Right. And so I was always trying to, I remember trying to teach myself real estate on Pinterest.
Okay.
You guys, oh my God. I didn't know anyone here, and I only knew
So what
two
were you
people.
looking at on Pinterest?
I was looking at, like, I would even put like real estate flyers, real estate mailers, like just to see what the verbiage was like, because I didn't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I knew how to use Canva very well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to make my own graphics, because I used to do that stuff for our gym. So like, I knew very basic 101 marketing, how to put myself out there, but I didn't know how to translate that into real estate because I didn't know the business well. So I remember being on Pinterest for hours. And I had this Pinterest real estate board where it was like, you know, just like one-liners or quotes or things to put in mailers, what to say to people, daily routine, stuff to post, like a calendar. Like, I was just getting ideas from there. And then what I did is I started to take a lot of it, which was corny, and made it myself.
Yep.
So if there was a content calendar that had things I should be doing, then I just made it the Denise style,
Yeah.
you know? But I just started doing that stuff, and it worked.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, like, it worked. And I just think the confidence thing, I feel like you can learn it if you're not, right? Mm-hmm. And I think some people just learn it differently. I'm just very, like, I am blessed to just kind of have that.
Yeah.
But my mom was a super strong woman, so I've been like this since I was
Day one, yeah.
Day one.
Yeah.
So shout out to Mama Rosa. But the confidence and the ability to go ask questions, take meetings, you know. If
Yeah.
you called, I was like, screw it. I don't know who this dude is. I went on your page. I'm like, this guy's young. I hope he's not trying to, like, ask me out. Like, this is weird. I literally thought that, and I didn't want to come because I was like, I don't want to meet anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I remember saying that to myself. Anyway, and then Caitlin, I met her and you, and I was like, I'm so glad I came.
Right.
You know, and then just started taking things Caitlin helped me with. Like, Caitlin and you literally day one.
Yeah.
Day one.
So give me.
And
goosebumps.
I always tell her that. I always message her like, dude, you taught me this, you know,
Yeah.
like, I just, that was my first experience with real estate. It was you and Caitlin giving me like a handful of handouts with real estate content to talk about terms.
Yeah.
Terms I didn't even know.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was licensed, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I need to just put this out there for people. I just learned it, so whatever. It worked, and the confidence and the ability to just go find that stuff.
Right. And I think something that you did really well is a lot of people will not implement, and you implemented very quickly, right? And you started to get on social media, and you started to talk about that stuff. And although, like, you might have seen it that day, learned about it that day, and then post about it that night, like, that's huge, because one thing that I've always loved is when I learn something new, I can understand it better when I go and teach it and talk about it, right? And that was something that I saw you do, you know, very quickly. And now, you know, years later, all over social media, you know, I talk to agents, I see people all the time that know who you are. Maybe I've not even met you, but they know you through social media.
Yeah.
And that was just, you know, I think another thing that really helped you grow is you implemented, you know, very quickly, and there was no hesitation about it, you know?
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What is, going back to more like the correlation, besides like the people thing between police and real estate, what is it that you know, have been able to transfer over when dealing with hostile situations? Obviously, completely two different types of hostility, right? From going to police. And obviously that's, you know, sometimes life and death. Emotions are high, weapons, you know, combat, all that sort of stuff too. Now it's emotional, right? On the
All emotional.
on the real estate side.
Yeah.
How those are two different things. Just walk me through, like, what is things that you've been able to learn along the way, maybe that you do different, but have kind of, you know, transferred over from, you know, your work as a police officer.
Yeah, and I get emotional too, right? Like, you get frustrated with people or whatever. I mean, it's like similar things. I always joke, and I say, yeah, you know, you're still working with people, and sometimes it's not easy. And I always joke, I'm like, but at least no one's trying to kill me. Like, I always say that, and it's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And it's like, yeah, you know, people are people, and I feel like whenever there's money involved, or this is a pretty high, like, transaction for most people, like a big transaction. So I just think I have been better at, like, just letting people talk and hear them out versus when I was in law enforcement. If I wasn't dealing with the victim and I needed to hear them out, I was just shutting them up. Like, be quiet,
No,
do
I hear
this.
it.
I'm not like, right. And now it's like, I really have to just let people vent. You know, you're their realtor, but you're like,
Counselor
you're their
sometimes.
counselor. You're like trying to talk them off a ledge. You're like trying to convince them that what they're doing is right, you know, and I truly believe like talking people through things. It's like that, almost like that hostage negotiator like class. I remember they sent me to that class as a punishment.
No way.
Yeah, because I'd pop off all the time because of my mouth. And they're like, you're going to go learn how to negotiate with people because you are the worst. Like, shut up. Like, you talk too much. You know?
Yeah.
And I remember going to this class, kicking and screaming. But I literally feel like I utilize that more now, where it's like, listen, chill, let them just kind of like talk and then present facts. And honestly, if they're
Love
so
that.
adamant about something and the facts aren't there, or this isn't a good purchase for them, then support them. Let's go find something else, because I'm not going to let you
Yeah.
get into something that's not right.
I
So
love that.
just really listening to people, giving them options. And then the flip side of that, when you're dealing with people who are rude or other agents who, you know, just have a chip on their shoulder or just think that they're going to control the way things go, those are my favorite, because like they just probably hop on Instagram and, you know, maybe they miss the whole part of my background and they just might see a cute face or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold up.
You don't know where I'm from. You don't know what I did.
You don't know what hood I'm from, bro. Like, chill. Anyway, I just put an end to things pretty quickly. Like, I'm like,
That's not how it goes.
I get into these situations sometimes. I'm like, listen, first of all, we're going to have a professional conversation. You're not going to talk to me like that. This is what's happening. You know, now I heard your side and like, whatever. And, you know, I'm just, if you want to continue to be this way, you can call me later and email me. I'm not going to deal with your shit. And right?
Yep.
That's how it goes sometimes, and that's as simple as it has to be, because sometimes a lot of people in this industry haven't been spoken to like that, and they've been treating people like this their whole careers.
Yeah.
And because they've been doing it for so long, they think they can just do that.
Yep.
And, you know, people might go check out how long I've been doing this, and, you know, I might have said this recently, but I'm like, I don't give a shit how long you've been doing this. It's how you're making me feel right now, you know? And it's like, that's not right. Doesn't matter. Your amount of time in a business or in a profession or an expertise doesn't give you the right to talk down to people or be rude, so I'm just not going to tolerate it.
Oh,
I
for
respect time in an industry because your knowledge is completely on another level than mine is. But it's how we talk. We're in the people business.
Absolutely.
With each other and our clients. So
And this place is too small of an area.
everyone knows everyone here. And so, yeah. So if you've already heard that, you know, I'm going to cut your head off if you start popping off, it is what it is. I'm good with that.
Absolutely. I think I was talking to one of my employees the other day, and I think one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last couple of years is that when you first start off in a business, there's that fight or flight phase where you're kind of thinking on your feet at all times and you're reacting all the time. So taking phone calls at any time of the day, you're getting back to people as fast as you can because you have like that urgency to prove, you know, to yourself and that you can do this and you can like manage this business. And I had that exact same, you know, kind of model coming into it where I'd always pride myself with outworking anybody. Like, didn't matter what time of night, I'm going to take the call, I'm going to get on it. And I eventually came to realize that that's not always the best way, at least for me, because after you go throughout an entire day of talking to people, you know, and it's a stressful industry for sure. You're dealing with a lot of high, you know, emotions, and that can be mentally draining. I eventually realized that, hey, it's probably not best for me to take that call at this time.
Yep.
I need to, you know, structure my day accordingly where I'll get back to you tomorrow, because I realized that if I would take that call and someone would, you know, pop off, I would, you know.
You've had enough of the day.
Yeah, I just had it.
I'm glad you said that, because for the longest time, I mean, you were doing that a lot. And I was like, this guy's going to burn out, man.
Yeah.
He's like nonstop all day long on the phone, on his social media, still doing the stuff he's supposed to do at work.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. And yeah, you do. And those were like, it's hard to put those kind of boundaries because they're not like boundaries. They're like, I'm working hard, I'm doing this, you know, but at the end of the day, like, you got to cut yourself off at a certain time.
For
you got to
sure.
go home and decompress, do your thing, right?
Yep.
Take care of your family, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that. Hey, you're growing up.
I'm trying. I'm trying. But I feel, I mean, the calmness that I have throughout the days now is
It's better.
And the clarity is completely better. And
Good.
the workload is continued to increase, right? But I just do it differently. And so I think that's important, whether you're in real estate or, you know, just an entrepreneur. When you're running through your business, you need to stop and perform an analysis every couple of months to figure out, hey, what do I need to do better to increase, efficiencies here or my day-to-day work, my mental clarity. You always need to be able to provide that feedback to yourself and be brutally honest about it.
No, you're right, because if I'm getting calls at 8 o'clock, which I have, and my kids are absolutely batshit at that time, you guys, it's not the right time for me to take call, and I still take it because I don't want to lose any business. I want to be there for my clients. And maybe that's the time they get home and they can talk, but yeah, I've had to say, hey, I'm getting the kids ready for bed or bath time or whatever. I will call you in an hour if it's super urgent, or can it wait till the morning? I've had to start doing that because, my girls are at a stage where we're fighting, So I'm not taking the calls. I agree with you on that.
And I think, like you said, I had one the other night. It was my mom's birthday, and I still don't want to miss the business, right? But if you let people know and you set the expectation, hey, it's my mom's birthday. Hey, I'm putting the kids down. Let me get back to you tomorrow. No problem, right?
Absolutely.
And
it's when you don't answer, you don't text. People are like, this guy never answers his phone. Like, just acknowledge it.
Communicate and take 2 seconds. Hey, I'm going to call you back tomorrow. And they're like perfectly happy with it, right? So I think a lot of people think that if you say that, they're still not going to leave. It's not true. It's not true for sure. So just kind of come back to something that you touched on is honesty, right? And being raw. And that's something that you do well, and anybody that looks at you on social media, like, you'll just say it how it is. And a lot of people, I think, maybe try to do that, but it comes off, they're not authentic about it. What is it? I mean, I think that's part of just who you are as a person, but I also think that helps you in your business as well. Would you attest to that?
Of course, I agree. Everyone that I have met, especially recently, because I've been more plugged into my brokerage and helping with classes and and shout out to them for doing that. Like, they saw something in me and were like, can you come do this? Because if not, I just stay out where I'm at. I don't even come out here. So I just think everyone has been saying that to me lately. Like, it was so cool to meet you. Your class was this. Like, you were I feel like we already knew you. And I'm like, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point for you. Like, that's the point for everyone. Like, when people go look, they should, and then they finally meet you, they should already feel like they know you.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But when you put it that way, they're like, oh my God, it's like you see, they're like mind blown. And
lights click on.
I always strive to do that. When I first met Arrow, and this comes up a lot, I've gotten to know Arrow really well. And, Arrow's gorgeous. And people always say it's just a bunch of pretty faces or whatever. And of course, beauty is beauty. It's great. But if you don't really get to know people, or they don't know how much more is behind a pretty face, they don't get the full sense of who you are.
For sure.
And so to me, I always, as soon as I started my social media and really kind of being consistent at it the last year, which I really feel like I've been way more consistent now.
No doubt.
That was my whole thing. I was like, I'm going to stop posting only if I did my hair or my makeup. I'm just not, because I was doing that for a while because I wanted to look presentable and professional every time. Not that I'm not.
Yeah.
But if I'm in my Hawaiian pajama shirt and I have something to say, I'm going to still say it. Because what if I came across some information? I'm not going to go get ready and then get on there.
No.
And that's just my thing. And you know what? It's worked for me. And people always say oh, it's so cool. You're out, with your horses, or you're covered in mud, or you're this, or you're that, or you look really nice today. It is relatable. To me, the people that know me and the people that I'm trying to attract, this is realistic. Thursdays are the days I like to do stuff like that because that's the day I do my hair.
Thursdays are hair day.
I put makeup on. But the other days, I just show up the way I am. But that's fine. That's how I roll.
Totally fine. And I think, like you said, when it's cool when people meet you and they're like, oh, you're just like you are on social media. It's that's who I am, right? And it helps people build rapport with someone they don't know. And I think that's what social media is so key with real estate is it's an active resume of who do you want to work with, and if those people vibe with you, you can get a client without even having to make a phone call, right? No connection. They just see you on social media and I want to work with that person.
Totally.
She looks like a badass.
Thank you. I just think and just recently we're being a little more silly together, and I like that I get to poke her to do that because I know how she is.
Yeah.
She's really funny. She's really active. She's really this. She's really that. But I'm like, Errol, show everyone else that. And,
Not everybody sees that.
She does it, and she gets a little hesitant to do it, because she's always, done her marketing a certain way, which she's done phenomenal at it.
For sure.
But lately, I do. I'm like, Hot, I'm going to film you. I need you to. I did one today, and she was like, It's so funny. I'm like, I need your name, how long you've been in the business, how old you are, fun fact about you and a hobby. And I'm going to post a reel of everyone on our team that does that.
That's awesome.
And she's like, right here. And I'm like, yes, right now.
Do it. Go.
But it's just, I go, it's going on mine,
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What, as we're kind of wrapping up here, you, like you said, you've been doing a really, really good job on social media, absolutely killing it on there. Is there any tips that you can give like agents, or anybody, I guess, that is just trying to increase, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, their social media? Like, has there been things that you've learned that you feel like they need to share, tips, tricks, anything like that?
Yeah. Just everything we just talked about,
Yeah.
like just showing up how you are every day. And it's cool to like do your little brags here and there about what you sold or what you got, because, it really keeps you relevant in this business. But at the end of the day, like, people don't really care about how many houses you've sold or what you did. We're still going to post about it because it's still like what we do for whatever reason. It doesn't need to be the bulk of your content. You need to like tell people more about your struggles. I feel like no one wants to talk about their struggles or their wins in life, not so much business.
Yeah.
And just really being relatable. Like, the trend this year is how much can you be relatable to your audience, and how much are you educating them and standing out from other people in a genuine way. Because I read something last night about how the real estate market is so oversaturated, and how are you different? Which people say that all the time, but really, how are you different?
Yeah.
Because we all are different.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's, again, something you do really well is you have a wide diversity, of stuff that you talk about as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a real estate agent, doing judo,
Jiu-jitsu, bro.
Oh, my bad. Jiu-jitsu. My bad. Jiu-jitsu. But all that stuff makes it awesome. So where can people find you? If they want to get in contact with you, I'd highly recommend anybody in the real estate industry definitely follow your page. But where can people find you?
They can DM me at denise.realestatebyarrow. They can call me. They can email me at denise.realestatebyarrow@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to tell the people?
No. I think we covered it all.
I do too. Well, thank you again, guys. We'll catch you guys again soon.